Hey brother! Ben! Solo came out last weekend and I have to say, better than expected. Also, fair warning, this video will contain spoilers for Solo as soon as the next few sentences, so you have been warned. My initial thoughts are Donald Glover was great as Lando. I loved Chewbacca's introduction, and I thought the way he got his last name, Solo, was stupid. Like, seriously, just some random Imperial guard assigns him a last name so he can finish filling out a form? Really? That's it? On the other hand, though, Darth Maul is back. What? We are definitely going to get into that. By the way, good to see you again, Mr. Maul. I think you tripled your overall lines on screen. Good job. I was less enthusiastic, however, about the extreme in-your-face retconning of the importance of the golden dice. I thought it was very cheesy. But, as ever, when leaving a Star Wars movie, the main question on my mind was that Rey's mom? Ben, I honestly can't believe we are making this video again, but there was just so much evidence it felt irresponsible to not at least address it. So here we go. Rey's mom 3.0. Could Qi'ra from Solo be her mother? I know The Last Jedi did everything it could to make you think the identity of her parents is just not important, but I am not taking the bait. I think there definitely still will be some significance to it. And I promise we aren't going to make this video again every single time Star Wars introduces a new brown-haired British accented female into the universe. But by the way, did you guys notice that Qi'ra has brown hair and a British accent? Oh my god, they must be related. At first, I thought that might be all we had to go on, but the more I thought about it, the more everything just seemed to fit together. How amazing will it be if Daenerys of the House Targaryen, first of her name,
the Unburnt, Queen of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, Queen of Marine, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, Protector of the Realm, Lady Regnant of the Seven Kingdoms, Breaker of Trains, and Mother of Dragons is also
Rey's mom. The first and most noticeable thing is how instinctively paternal Han is to Rey after they first meet.
Are you offering me a job?
I'm thinking about it.
Many people have pointed this out over the years and use it as an enormous part of their argument for why Han must be Rey's father. And when you find out that Han had a adult relationship with Qi'ra, it seems all the more likely. Speaking of when Rey and Han met, there's also the interesting question of why does Rey know of Han in the way that she knows him, which is to say, as a smuggler and not as a war hero.
This is a Millennium Falcon. You're Han Solo.
Oh, the rebellion general?
No, the smuggler.
Wasn't he a war hero?
Not only does she know Han, but specifically the ship and the Kessel Run.
This is a ship that made the Kessel Run in 14 parsecs.
12! It is important that this is all Rey knows about him because in the grand scheme of things, Han is way more famous for his efforts in the rebellion than he is for taking a shortcut through some clouds one time. Okay, they were dangerous clouds. Dangerous half cloud, half debris. Dangerous half cloud, half debris area filled with a giant monster. You know what? It was pretty impressive. But not more impressive than this. This. So, who of all people would tell Rey stories of Han Solo the smuggler and the Kessel Run, but not mention his war efforts? Maybe someone who was immensely impressed with the Millennium Falcon, someone who knew Han, someone who was literally on the Kessel Run with him, someone named Qi'ra? Qi'ra, by the way, why does that sound so familiar? Oh, right. Because guess whose name was originally Qi'ra in The Force Awakens? One Rey, last name unknown. True, they are spelled differently, Q-I'-R-A versus K-I-R-A, but let's face it, it's the same name. And then there's the information we learn about Rey's parents in The Last Jedi.
They were nobody.
They were filthy junk traders. Sold you off for drinking money.
Which does seem to rule her parents out as being anyone of much significance, but it also totally doesn't. I mean, even Anakin was a bit of a junk dealer at the beginning of The Phantom Menace. And you know who also looked a lot like junk dealers at the beginning of Solo? Qi'ra and Han. And that is not the only connection Qi'ra might have to junk. At the end of Solo, we see her reach out to Darth Maul and everyone collectively gasp because, oh my god, it's so awesome. But if you are someone who has invested any amount of time in the expanded Star Wars universe outside of the movies, you might not have been as surprised to see him because, well, he kind of shows up all over the place. But he first re-debuted into the Star Wars canon here during Clone Wars. This is a planet called Lotho Minor, or literally just the Junk World. The inhabitants of this planet are actually just called the Junkers. Darth Maul went into exile here after his defeat on Naboo, where he lost his mind and also built a crazy scorpion spider looking body out of junk. Yes, I know he got nicer legs later, but the point is, at the end of the movie, Qi'ra is heading off to go meet up with Darth Maul. Meaning she's been dealing with junk for the better part of her life. Even after she leaves the sewers and seemingly escapes, I think she would still always fit the description of junk dealer. And by the way, I am in no way suggesting that Darth Maul is the father. I mean, for one, he was sliced in half at the waist, so... And two, he eventually ends up dying way before Rey would have needed to have been conceived anyway, so definitely not him. But speaking of meeting up with Darth Maul, let's talk about what he's been doing off screen for the past 19 years. Well, as I just said, he spent a lot of time on Lotho Minor losing his mind, but is eventually rescued by his brother, the aptly named Savage Opress, who helps him restore his mind, and then the two of them team up and just wreak havoc across the galaxy. They kill a Hutt, stage a coup, and kill the Queen of Mandalore, form the Shadow Collective, take hold of the Darksaber for a little while. But his main motivation is always pretty much the same. Find and kill Obi-Wan Kenobi for slicing him in half. He super hates him for that. It is what drives him. In fact, do you remember a sentence ago when I said they staged a coup on Mandalore and killed the Queen? That was Duchess Satine, Obi-Wan's love interest in the Clone Wars, and he killed her in front of him. So yeah, Maul is hunting Obi-Wan, and where do we know that Obi-Wan is during the time of Solo? On Tatooine, watching over Luke, which is also exactly where Han leaves for at the end of Solo to go get a job from Jabba. So it seems likely enough that Qi'ra and Han will cross paths again, but there are some pretty obvious glaring issues we need to address with the idea that Han and Qi'ra are Rey's parents. First, Solo happens about 10 years before A New Hope, and Rey would have had to have been conceived after the events of Return of the Jedi, meaning if Han and Qi'ra are the parents, that Han is having an affair on Leia, which I don't love, but it's not impossible. Carrie Fisher herself said that Han and Leia had a very volatile relationship between episodes 6 and 7, which is when this would have had to have taken place, so there is some wiggle room. It would also mean Rey and Kylo are half siblings, which makes some of the romantic tension between them a little gross. Not that Star Wars has been afraid to flirt with that line in the past. But even as nice fitting as it is that Qi'ra and Han will both be on Tatooine likely at the same time, again, the timing is just not there. It's too early in the story. It has to happen later. So here's what I think actually is way more possible. That Han is not the father, but that Qi'ra is the mother. And weirdly, remarkably, this doesn't change anything we have discussed so far, and in fact, it might even fit better. Her mom still would have been a junker, Han would not have had to have cheated on Leia, Kylo wouldn't be her brother, and she still would have learned about Han Solo the smuggler and not the war general. She of course still has brown hair and a British accent, and it could even account for some of the combat training she seems to have at the ready, because if you have seen Solo, you know that Qi'ra has some moves. Even Han's instinctual paternalism towards Rey makes sense. Not because they're literally related, but because she reminds him of the girl he was in love with as a kid. And there you go, Ben. That is all the evidence one needs to determine if, in fact, Qi'ra is Rey's mom. I mean, hey, we've been wrong about this before, but whatever. Third time's a charm. Am I right? So, Ben, my question for you and everyone else is, of course, what do you think? Is Qi'ra Rey's mom? Will we see Emilia Clarke in episode 9? Let me know your thoughts in the towel section down below. These socks are amazing! And a special thanks to these patrons who support Super Carlin Brothers on Patreon. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, please remember to like the video if you haven't already and subscribe so you don't miss any future Star Wars action from us. If you want to see why maybe Han committed suicide in The Force Awakens, you can check out this video right here. Or if you want to see some other theories about who Rey's father could be, you can check out this video right here. But Ben, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you in another life, brother.